Hi, my name's Adam Calverley, and I'm going to be module leader on the second year module, level 5 module, Policing and Criminal Investigations. This is a core module, and it's an important part of the criminology programme. Many of you are probably going to be coming to this module with your own ideas, your own thoughts on the police, who the police are, and some of you may, very reasonably, wish to join the police in the future. So this module provides a broad introduction to policing and its key functions of order maintenance, crime control, and also some of the we'll be visiting some of the hot political issues and controversies that the police face in terms of modern day policing. We'll also be paying close attention to a specific aspect of policing, criminal investigation, and what are some of the issues, approaches, methods that are entailed or involved in investigating and responding to crime. So, in terms of what we're going to be looking at, we'll start off really with an introduction to policing, and most of this module is going to be about policing in England and Wales, though we'll also be looking at, where appropriate, comparisons in an international context. But many of you probably already think, when you think of policing, that actually this is what the police do. In some ways, it's a much broader function than that. And what we're going to be starting off with is some definitional issues, the differences between policing as an institution, the boys, or the boys and girls in blue, and policing as a kind of social, important social function that's involved in really kind of about trying to maintain order and maintain peace. So just as all societies don't have the police or police forces as we understand them, all societies will have policing as a social function. So we'll be looking at, as part of that, some of the important theoretical issues surrounding policing, and kicking off with looking at the history of policing, in particular how the modern police force as we know it in terms of police in uniform, a professional police force that's paid for by the taxpayer, public police, how that came about. That hasn't always existed. In fact, it really is a phenomenon of the 19th century industrial Britain. We'll be looking at what some of the previous systems which are in place for policing, and the development and the evolution of modern policing and how that came about. We'll also be considering the issue of policing accountability, and this is a very important issue within a liberal democratic political environment such as England and Wales, where the question is, if we've got a publicly paid for police service, what type of police force do we want? How do we direct them? How do we get the kind of policing that we want? What should be their priorities? How do we hold them to account? And many of you will be familiar with George Floyd's murder last year and Black Lives Matter. This, of course, how do we hold the police to account? What kind of policing do we want? Who should the police be answerable to? This is rather than a dry issue, it's very much a hot button issue. And we'll look at some of the themes surrounding that, but also some of the institutions that are in place, how that's evolved over time. And I'll get you to think about what you think the police's priorities should be. Well, then the final sort of theoretical session that we're going to be looking at is looking at the police themselves, and in particular how the police see their role, how they see themselves and the inner world of policing. Researchers identified that the police see themselves as occupying a unique social world and a unique role that kind of separates them from other professions. And this has been described as canteen culture or cop culture. And we'll be looking at what are some of the core values that underpin how the police see themselves and how they see their role. And also, what are the effects of this cop culture? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it consistent, or has it changed over time? We'll then be looking at how the police have responded to changes in society. Firstly, in terms of policing cultural diversity, some of the challenges that poses for policing, and also some of the various efforts and strategic efforts that the police have introduced in terms of introducing new models of policing, such as community policing, intelligence-led policing, broken windows policing, in which the police have tried to redefine their role and redefine their organisation to provide a better, more efficient, effective, collaborative form of policing. We're not going to be taking these things at face value, of course. We're going to be assessing whether or not they live up to their aims. What we're then going to do is have a little bit of an interregnum, and we'll be looking specifically at how the police respond to crimes in terms of criminal investigation. What are some of the models of investigation? How the police go about when a crime's being reported, how they set it up, what are some of the things they need to consider, how their approach is in terms of gathering evidence, organising an investigative team, things that they need to bear in mind in terms of collecting evidence, securing evidence and bringing it to court. On top of that, we'll be looking at some of the more controversial methods that the police have for collecting evidence, such as covert policing. What do the police do? Why we have covert policing? Why it's a useful tool in the police toolbox? But also, what are some of the potentially very dangerous ethical issues surrounding that? Covert policing, by its very nature, is policing that we don't know is going on. So, what's the implication of that for accountability? We'll then be considering some of the issues in terms of policing collecting evidence and the ways that they do this, both eyewitness evidence, forensic evidence, and how the police go about obtaining a confession. Having done that, we'll then consider some of the current hot potato, hot button topics in policing, in particular some of the challenges posed for the police in relation to policing the internet and policing cybercrime, in terms of policing county lines drug gangs, policing modern slavery, but also what resources and techniques and tools that the police face when it comes to policing what is now a, if you will, virtual space in which a lot of crime takes place. And finally, we're going to be considering issues such as policing terrorism. And bear in mind that it's not just that this might not just be the police that take part in this, it's other organisations as well. So all in all, forgive the doorbell, all in all, hopefully I'll looking very much forward to seeing you in terms of policing. So for any of you who've had the pleasure of reading The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler, you'll be familiar with the end of the book where he says that I never saw them again, except cops. No one found a reason to get rid of them. I think that's the quote. I knew I'd be seeing them again. Well, the good news is I'll know I'll be seeing you again in September, and I see no reason why policing still won't be around in September as well. So looking forward to seeing you then. Bye.